Good evening, and thank you very, very much. Let me say thank you, first of all, for the continuing support that this church has given to the education of young women in Pakistan. This is truly outstanding, and you should all be very, very proud of that. My second thank you is for taking me down memory lane. It's allowed me to reconnect with Bea and Steve Fox. Unbeknownst to me, in the back of the room is Nan Kennelly, with whom I spent a summer in Pakistan in 1988, and when she was a junior Foreign Service officer, and I was getting my first leadership challenge, trying to lead Nan. There are others here who have served in Pakistan, have lived in Pakistan, and it's been a real pleasure to think back to that. I also had a chance to think back as I looked at Foreman Christian College's website to my friends that have been extremely distinguished graduates of Foreman Christian College. Those graduates include two presidents of Pakistan, President Laghari and President Musharraf, and an Indian Prime Minister, Prime Minister Gujaral, who went before partition in 1947. All three of them are people that I have had the opportunity to meet, and I think, as I think back, the FCC experience must have been very unique for them and brought them together. I also had the opportunity as the ambassador to Pakistan to work with Peter Armacost, who served as the president of FCC. I'm not sure whether Peter had the most dangerous job in Pakistan or I did. I do know I had better security than he did. It was a time when FCC was under attack by extremists in Pakistan, and it was not at all clear that the college would survive. But Peter's leadership, the support of President Musharraf, the friends from around the world who supported it financially have allowed it to thrive. And again, my congratulations to all of you for that support. Steve asked me to pick a title tonight, and he and I share a common interest in playing fun word games. I think it may have been one of the first things that attracted our friendship. And I thought about education as one of those things where you really do get compound interest. I'm not sure when I first learned about compound interest. I think it had something to do with my little brother, who did not want his birthday money to go to the bank. He wanted to be able to count it. And my father would try to explain to him about interest and compounding, unsuccessfully, I should add. Hopefully I can do a better job about talking about it as a part of compound interest for education. It's the equivalent, I think, of a super savings account. The compounding occurs with benefits for the individual and her family, for her nation, and in the case of Pakistan, I think for U.S. national security as well. That's another form of interest, and we could play the word game with that, but we won't go there. In terms of individual benefits, I think you saw them live in the film tonight. Going to school, particularly to college, is a life-changing experience for any of us. As a first-generation college student from my family, I could see my father in a couple of those smiles of the pride of the individuals who were going to FCC. For young women in particular, it increases self-confidence, self-respect, and self-reliance. They are no longer beholden to someone else. They have the knowledge and ability to work on their own. One hopes that a college education any place results in a more informed decision-making. That's important in daily life in so many ways, but especially important in democracies where there are elections. It allows someone to resist fake news and extremism, whether that comes from politics or religion. It provides a person with organization skills that can provide benefits in the home and in the workplace. Most importantly for the third world, there is a direct correlation between education for women and health. Not only their own health, but that of their children. It allows for people to make more informed decisions about when to have children and how to space them. It makes decisions about vaccinations, sanitation, the use of modern practitioners and facilities. All of these result in much, much better family health in the third world. It also can have a dramatic impact on a person's ability to earn in the workplace. This is particularly true for women in the third world who are grossly underpaid, and the idea of equal pay for equal work very, very seldom exists, except at the most senior levels. It also provides an incentive for recognizing the role of women, and it has been shown to decrease domestic violence. And most importantly, I think, it is a role model for the girls that follow. An educated woman and her ability to set an example is living proof that the current status doesn't have to stay. These individual benefits, when compounded, for a nation like Pakistan, allows them to meet their constitutional goal, which is a guaranteed right to education for everyone. Unfortunately, that goal has not been met in Pakistan. The most recent statistics that I could find suggest that 54% of the men and 32% of the women nationwide are literate. That falls, if you go to the province next to Afghanistan in the far northwest corner of Pakistan, to 50% for men and 18% for women. And in the tribal belt that borders directly on Afghanistan, it drops to 30% for men and 3% for women. This is why it's important for these 12 girls and their counterparts at FCC to help spread education. Pakistan is significantly behind most of South Asia. Sri Lanka leads with 93% of its men and 91% of its women literate. Even Nepal, which is among the poorest of the countries in South Asia, has a 75% rate for men and 58% for women. I know we have a couple of people from USAID in the audience tonight, and I just want to salute them because I know for a fact that particularly in Nepal, that figure for young women and for young men is a result of USAID's work, so congratulations. In Pakistan, women make up about 25% of the workforce. Most of them work in the unorganized sector. Most of them are poorly paid and work in very poor conditions. This doesn't recognize, as we all know, what women do at home, and it pretty much doesn't recognize what they do in the agricultural sector. One would hope the logic of it is that if you're educated, the effects of poverty would allow you to have less discrimination as you go up. You have a perverse switching in Pakistan. There's actually more equality among the sexes when you're very, very poor. Everybody has to work and nobody goes to school. As you move toward the middle class, there's competition for who goes to school, and guess what? The boys tend to go more than the girls do. There's, toward the upper middle class, the luxury of establishing isolation for the women, keeping them at home. In the very upper classes of Pakistan, you have both going on. You have women that are as liberated as I am. You have women who are isolated as though they were very poor. So it's a perverse role that the economy plays. In terms of trying to address this in Pakistan, education is clearly one of the things. But there's been a lack of emphasis by both political and social leaders on the importance of women's education. There's been a lack of prioritization and of funding that has to follow if you're going to put those resources toward education. Patriarchal values, which have been expressed in many different forms, emphasize the division of labor between men and women. They restrict women's mobility. They see women, on one hand, as needing protection, and the other as temptresses that have to be constrained. Unfortunately, these attitudes in many, many places in Pakistan are accepted by both men and women. The women are not willing to challenge them. Pakistan has also been hurt, as you already know, by a grave insurgency within the country. They've had terrorism that has resulted in Malala Yousafzai, who won the Nobel Prize for her efforts to encourage girls' education, both at the time that she was shot in Pakistan and subsequently since she has recovered. Malala's school was one of 410 in her area of Pakistan, which is called Swat, that was destroyed by terrorists. It was one of 720 that were destroyed throughout the country of Pakistan. Those are the most recent statistics that I could find, and they're from 2012. I don't know, I think the numbers have gone down in terms of annual events, but it is still happening. There's also a rural-urban divide, as there is in so many countries. Women in Pakistan in the cities have a better chance of being educated than in the rural areas, but FCC can cater to both. When it comes to the United States and how we figure into this picture, we have been working with Pakistan on a number of fronts. Our goals can be very quickly done in shorthand of looking for a democratic, prosperous, and stable Pakistan. This would allow Pakistan to improve its governance, its delivery of services to its people, to improve human rights in Pakistan, to eradicate poverty, and to deal with terrorism. It would also help the United States in its efforts in Afghanistan, where Pakistan has sometimes been a block to those. It would also contribute to stability with India, where two nuclear nations can face off at any given time, each of them with one of those buttons. Education of women can make a major contribution to each of these goals of a democratic, a prosperous, and a stable Pakistan. Let me conclude by saying to you again, congratulations. You are playing a major role in the efforts of Foreman Christian College to prepare Pakistan's young people, which according to its mission is to be informed, ethical, and responsible citizens, and to do so by living the school's motto, by love, serve one another. Your own love is going to make a difference, not just to these 12 young people, but also to their countries and to our own. Again, my sincere thank you and congratulations.